Hello and welcome to U.S.-Russia Diplomacy. Thank you for being here. Have you ever wondered why Russians and Americans seem to have a cold distrust and sometimes hatred for the other? The Cold War is over, so why is the cold shoulder still there? It wasn't until I heard Vladimir Putin speak at the 25th Annual St. Petersburg Economic Forum that I realized one big reason why. It has to do with a person's model of the world. Your model of the world is how you perceive the world, and how you perceive the world greatly affects your reality and therefore the actions of other people you influence. So it's important to make sure your model is as empowering and objective as possible. There is an idea from neurolinguistic programming, or NLP, which is a branch of psychology that has to do with personal development, that says, the map is not the territory, which is a metaphor used to illustrate the difference between the actual world and our understanding of the world as we perceive it to be. We draw these maps of reality based on what we glimpse through our senses and our experiences. In effect, we pull certain pieces of information from media, society, our advisors, our leaders, that may create a map for us, but it most likely does not include everything there is to know about the territory. Our map is our model of the world, and if we're a leader, we pass down this model of the world to our country and to other leaders, and we make them see the map as we see it. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to show you a part of a speech from both Vladimir Putin and Joe Biden. Watch for evidence of their models of the world in these speeches, but also, when doing this analysis, I always like to come up with the belief that there must be at least a grain of truth in everything, to make sure I remain objective and understanding. So ask yourself as you listen, where's the truth? This is an excerpt of Vladimir Putin's speech at the St. Petersburg Economic Forum. Keep in mind it's spliced for brevity. He said, "The USA has declared itself God's messengers on earth. They think their dominance will be eternal. The West considers other countries as second-class citizens. They punish everyone who does not want to obey them. If it's not possible to destroy those countries, they try to cancel them. This is the reason for Russophobia." First, where is the truth? Well, there's a lot of truth there. Definitely Western countries have been canceling those who they feel don't believe what they believe. Although the US was proud of its victory in World War II, as the Russians are as well, as evidenced by their May 9th Victory Day each year, I'm not so sure that most of the US believes that they are God's messengers on earth and that they want to destroy everyone who does not obey them. This is a model of the world that will create division between the countries for sure. But I also know that this is not Vladimir Putin's full view. He might be a little more emotional about this right now due to the current circumstances with Ukraine and the way Western countries have treated him. Vladimir Putin used to get tips from a Moscow State University professor, Alexander Dugin, who likes to assert that the US controls the world in a unipolar world and that it's Russia's destiny to destroy that and assert a multipolar world. It is one belief that presupposes the US as the bad guy rather than just another country that is operating differently from them and is becoming a little bit annoying. This model of the world, this perception, this belief of the US will cause a lot of animosity between the countries for sure, because someone who believes this will not be truly open to an honest and mutually beneficial relationship. Now that we have seen one model of the world by Russia, let's take a look at Joe Biden's speeches to see the model of the world propagated by the American leadership. On Memorial Day 2022, Joe Biden said, "In this moment, a war of aggression is once more being waged by Russia to snuff out freedom and democracy, the very culture and identity of Ukraine." And he goes on, Today, in the perennial struggle for democracy and freedom, Ukraine and its people are on the front line. And he argues that such values are even under threat in the US. Ouch. These are some really aggressive words of questionable veracity. Now, whether or not these statements are true, pay attention to the model of the world he is portraying. This is what he's telling the American people. And this is what Western media is telling the people in Western civilizations. It is this model of the world that's causing the reaction that Russia is seeing. Now ask yourself, if you believe this, how would you react? And if you believed what Putin said about America just wanting to control everything and the West pushing everyone down, how would you react then? Would you even want to have anything to do with an American? Would you trust them? Earlier I asked, where's all the truth in this? As an American who grew up in this country, albeit to international parents and having lived abroad, I can't say that from the evidence I have, Vladimir Putin has much more truth on his side than Joe Biden based on the two statements I listed here. For instance, is Ukraine really a democracy? Is Russia really after their democracy and our democracy, or is it something else? And what I can't say is that human beings only ever do things out of a positive intent to feel good. Whatever people do, no matter what they do, it's always their end result to feel good, to feel safe, to feel virtuous. For example, Joe Biden puts a lot of LGBTQ in his cabinet because he thinks that this model of the world where everyone is valued and celebrated is the best one. So in a way, he thinks everyone should feel this way, and if they don't, they're a bigot. That's his model of the world. Very faulty, but it has a good intent, even if it's missing a lot of facts and concepts. But we have to start somewhere. And for example, Vladimir Putin realizes that moving away from traditional values too fast is risky and can create decadence, and that the West is spreading these toxic ideas and forcing it on others. Putin's actions are to defend his country and his culture, which might seem aggressive to some. He's coming from a different level of consciousness than Joe Biden and his followers. At Joe Biden's level of consciousness, those who are not with him are against him, so it might seem that they would want to destroy others. But please know that this level of consciousness is only temporary. People, Americans, will bump up against its limitations and see the damage it is doing, and then things will normalize. Naturally. This is part of why I'm creating this site, so that people can bump up against that limitation and rise above it to see the view of both sides and how they're both needed and both have value, although one is more distorted than the other right now. But if we let these two cultures and countries run side by side without interference, both countries have the power to become their greatest versions. If we stop being distrusting, if we stop demonizing, and if we start to see how our models of the world affect our relationships and the way we see each other, then we can start to be more objective, less hateful, and understand that each of us are just acting from the level of consciousness that we have at this moment. And all we can do is not let it affect and influence us if it's toxic, and keep doing what we are doing to be our best. Keep focused on you and becoming your greatest version. Until next time.